Welcome to episode 5 of the S&C Shy Talk series. Today we have our first guest, and we're delighted to introduce Becky Cassin, the Cork City captain for the forthcoming season. So thanks for joining us, Becky.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
So I suppose just starting off, just give us a quick overview of your career so far, your soccer career, and we'll kick off from there.
Yeah, right from the start.
Yeah, that's it. From under 8s or whatever up.
Yeah. When I was growing up, there was no girls' team in my town, I suppose. So I would have played with the lads in the estates and around the corner and stuff from when I was like, I'd probably say 8 or 9. And then I went to a mini World Cup when I was 10, and that's where I wouldn't say scouted, because I don't think you're scouted at mini World Cups, but a manager of a girls' team asked would I come on and play, and that was Newtown Juniors. So that was my first team when I was 12 at that stage. Then I played for the boys' team there, captained them, which was really cool, at under 13s. That was great for my ego, to be honest. and then played in Newtown till I was 17. Played in Rush in Dublin for 2 years, for 2 summers, and signed for Wexford then in 2014. So when I went into 6th year, I signed for Wexford. Was there for 6 years, and then came down to Cork in 2020. And it was, that was quite a move. Obviously, like moving my whole life down to Cork, but it was well worth it, I think, which is quite obvious from the year just gone. But that's a brief overview of my career, I suppose, to date.
It's not bad so far, is it?
No.
All of us work moving to Cork, so.
Yeah, what a county, by the way. What a county.
Exactly.
So how did you find playing with the boys as a kid, actually? Like, how did you find
it was
that
good.
was?
Yeah, it was tough, obviously, because, lads, once you get to like 12, 13, lads tend to shoot up and just be miles ahead. So like they were all taller than me and stronger and stuff, but I think I was just too stubborn not to be at their level. But yeah, it was good. We got to a few finals. We didn't win any now, but we got to a few finals, and I was playing centre back as well, so I was getting a really good experience of being under pressure, being on the ball and stuff. But I loved it. We trained twice a week in an indoor hall. I don't even think we had a pitch for most of the season, but it was just being with the lads. Some of them are, I think Keith Dalton is one of them. He plays for Cabinteely now. He captained them actually for the first time last week against Cork City. So it's really cool now to see where they're at, like, and the fact that I'm playing in National League too. Yeah, it's really cool. But what an experience! Yeah. So young to captain the lads. Yeah, it was cool.
Do you think that it was more beneficial to your development than if you only played with a girls' team, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think even now, I think if girls could be playing with boys' teams, they should be. Even if they're under 16s, under 18s, just because of the physical differences. Like there's no denying that they are there. And if you can play with players that are faster and stronger, it can only better you from the start. So I was lucky, I suppose, that I got to do that for the 2 years and experience it. And if I could still do it now, I would. But I just obviously can't at the moment with COVID and stuff. But it's there's no way it can't be beneficial, playing with players that are bigger and stronger. Yeah.
Was that a case? Were you playing with the lads team because there was a lack of girls playing, or was it just a case of that's just the way it was at that stage, or?
I think when I originally went to Newtown, it was the end of the girls' season, so I think I played maybe 2 or 3 games, and then it was just a case of there was no girls' football for the summer or whenever it was, so I played with the lads and then stayed on with them then for the rest of the year. It wasn't necessarily where my coaches thought, we'll put her in with the boys' team for her development. I think it was just, we'll put her in there because there's no other team to play for, really. But it worked out in the end, I suppose.
Nice. And so from there, is it a kind of a natural thing for you to progress to Wexford Youths, or what way does that usually work, as you're growing up and progressing?
Now it probably is. Now that there's the under-17s and under-19s league for the women. But when I was 17 at the time, it wasn't that much of a natural progression, I don't think, because I was playing under-18s with Newtown when I was 16 and 17, and then it was a case where I was too old to play for them anymore. So it was either go senior women's football in Dublin, like Sunday League, or step up to the National League. So it was, I think that in that sense, it was a natural progression because I wasn't going back playing Sunday League. That just wasn't happening. But it was only by chance that I ended up going to Wexford, because it was one of my friends played for the boys under-19s team, and his dad was he was on the coach to a match one day, and he was talking to the chairman, and or one of the men involved in the club, and he was talking about the women's team and asked, did he know any girls that played? He said, yeah, I know one girl. And it was me. So we got onto them, and I ended up just going down for a trial, and that was that. So if it hadn't been for that conversation, I don't know, would I've gone to Wexford? It probably would have been in DLR or UCD Waves, I suppose they are now. Yeah.
And so would you have been kind of first exposed to kind of the S&C side of things with Wexford then, or would have been before that?
Yeah, it would have, like, properly exposed would have been Wexford with an S&C coach. Yeah. In throughout school, I'd say from like 13 or 14, I would have been on Google, been like Googling how to get football fit, what to do in the gym, kind of stuff. I've always had that interest, but yeah, definitely in Wexford. We had a coach, Dylan Myrna is his name actually. He set up, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but football strength conditioning rehabilitation is what it's called. He was with QPR for a few years, and now he's set up this whole new brand with one of the lads that he works with, and it's huge in London. They work with amateur and semi-pros, and he would have exposed all of us to it really at the start, to proper conditioning. He would have taken RPE after sessions, and we would have had our training load monitored and stuff like that, which was completely new, and none of us knew what it was for or what he was doing, but he knew what he was doing. But yeah, it was good to be exposed to that so early. But that was definitely my first proper experience of it. Yeah.
Like, how is that different? Like, now that you've probably stepped up to Cork, like how is it different, or is there much of a difference, like going from Wexford to Cork, like in that sense, like the S&C sense, kind of?
Yeah, I suppose things got progressively better over the years in Wexford as well. Like, we had S&C coaches come in and out, and we would have experienced different things with those coaches, and it's different in Cork now because we have a gym in the training ground. So and we have two S&C coaches as well, so we can go in before training, get sessions in, stay after, do sessions. In Wexford, it was very much you do your gym work away from training. So when you're at training, you're there just to be on the pitch to do ball work or conditioning or whatever it was. The two were never together. So I suppose it's different in Cork now, there's more of a focus on us getting to training early or staying late to do those extras rather than splitting it off, putting it on a different day. That's probably the main difference. But obviously, I'm not with Wexford now. I can't speak about what it's like right now because I don't know, but that's the way it was when I was there anyway. Yeah.
How do you find, I suppose we should tell everyone, you have a degree in S&C as well.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you find like having that and being coached? Do you find that difficult, or?
No, to be fair, I actually like it. No, I like being able to switch off completely. I don't like being my own coach when I'm playing. I'm sure I'd say a lot of people would agree with that as well, or feel the same, that like it's nice to be able to just go into the gym and be told what to do, or not be looking at your program for hours before you actually go in and do it. Because that's very mentally fatiguing sometimes, and I've done it for years. So and like I do my own stuff now most of the time, but I can still get on to James, who's our S&C coach, and just be like, here James, I'm coming into the gym on Tuesday, can you put something on for me, or we do something different or whatever. I did that last week with one of the girls. She asked me did I want to join in, and I did. Hadn't a clue what I was going to be doing until I got there, but it's nice, like it's refreshing. And he's good. He knows his stuff. He's only in college as well, but he knows his stuff. So be different if he didn't.
Yeah.
But he does. Yeah. So it's all right. I let him off sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like, say, since you joined Wexford and since you actually got exposed to the S&C, and then as you progress the Cork, like, has it like massively brought in your game, or like have you just like do you feel it's actually been of any benefit to you? Like,
Yeah, definitely. I probably used myself as an experiment for the first 3 years of college, maybe trying out different things, different styles, and I've learned from those years now of what works for me, and what I actually what suits me best, and what days I should be training, what days I need to be in the gym. Some weeks just knowing my body as well, just some weeks knowing that, maybe I don't need to do as much this week and spend more time on the pitch or whatever it might be. But it's definitely benefited me. I think in the last year or so, I'm just really kind of seeing the benefits of the years of work that have been put in, more so than seeing it like a few weeks after I was doing bits, or in first year in college. I didn't really see much of a benefit to what I was doing, and probably only reaping the benefits now of that consistency, so yeah.
So you're the captain this year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling, because there are a lot of players in the team that could be captain, so to be asked to be the one and to wear the armband is really nice. It's a nice responsibility. I think it suits me as well to have to step up and have that responsibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a nice anybody. It is just an armband at the end of the day, but it's a nice reward for the work that you put in. Yeah.
I suppose, especially because you're not at Cork long either, like, so that's a big deal to be named captain. So fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play. So what was your kind of typical training day look like?
Well, I have a job, so it usually happens after work finishes. But I'm up for work at 6 in the morning, because I work 45. I live 45 minutes away from work, so up at 6, into work at 7:20, and then finish work at 3:30, and then we train at 7:15. But usually everybody gets there around 6 o'clock to kind of, some people be in the gym doing prehab, or we do video beforehand as well on, analysis on other teams or ourselves, or just setting targets and stuff. So I usually head into at around 3:30. I'll probably get a coffee and go for a walk. I can't meet people or sit in a coffee shop, so it's a good thing I enjoy my own company, because if I didn't, it'd be a struggle. But yeah, I'd get a coffee, go for a walk, and then into the training ground around 5 o'clock, into the gym, do some extras, do whatever I need to do, and then it's onto the pitch at 7:15 till 8:15, and then I usually have to hang around after to chat to the manager and the coaches and whatever it might be, and then home and in bed. In bed ideally before 11, but sometimes that's not the case. It depends on how long I'm stuck talking to the manager in the training ground. Yeah.
I suppose it's like, admin captaincy part, like when it comes to your training days, like do you have any extra responsibility when it comes to training days? Or like, I can always hear all the stories where, like, say the Premier League captains having to do X, Y, and Z. Like, do you have as much responsibility to do certain things with Cork, like, or is it kind of like a little bit different? Like,
show up and train. Yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily have. I don't think I have that many extra responsibilities, other than being that go-to between the players and the management. If they need to run anything by me, or I suppose we would chat quite often just about how things are, with the squad and with the group and stuff. But no, not really. I don't think there's anything extra, other than I wouldn't already expect of myself just as a player, full stop. But no, I don't think there's anything extra as a captain. Thank God, because there's a lot of time taken up already. Yeah.
I suppose like obviously, because the way like female sport is viewed in Ireland at the minute, you've seen both sides of it, especially with like training with the lads as you're growing up. Like, how do you feel female sport in general is viewed? Like, or how have you seen Like, were you ever treated differently as being that girl who's training and playing with the lads? Like, or have you seen any kind of progression in the way like female sport is viewed?
It's definitely grown. I've definitely noticed a huge difference in the last few years. Even just, the respect that people have for women playing football. I think it was very much seen as a men's sport, and some girls play it for a long time. Whereas now I think people are starting to understand that it's the same sport, but it's a different sport at the same time. You can't directly compare men's football and women's football because there are going to be some slight differences or whatever. And everyone's awareness of that, I think, to give credit, is improving, and the game is growing as a result of it. And publicity and stuff on social media is brilliant. We have our media team in the club is working wonders. They're always putting up posts and giving everyone, I suppose, the recognition that they deserve in the team. And when I was playing with the boys, there was always that feeling of, they don't want you here, like they don't want a girl in the dressing room. I think a thing as well was we all had to show up in our gear because there was 2 or 3 of us on the team, like 2 or 3 girls on the team, so we couldn't all be getting changed in dressing room. So we had to show up ready to go, and that was probably for them, it's probably just annoying. But it's only really looking back on it now that you realise that was even a thing. But it's different. It's different now, and younger boys are having more appreciation, more respect for girls playing football. I think they realise that we're not. I think they can see when a player is good, or if a player is kind of chancing their arm being in with the boys team or whatever it might be. But no, the game has grown. The game has grown a lot, and I don't think I ever really suffered. I was never on the wrong end of things being a female player, but I'm sure some players have been. But no, the game's in a good place. I think it's definitely in a good place at the moment.
Stuff. What do you think needs to be done to kind of grow female sports? Or
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we could probably have a whole podcast just talking about what needs to be done in that end of things. I think one thing could probably be, an idea that could be thrown out there is, and it's something that's done in the States, is they have allocated, so players are allocated to each team, or each team has a certain number of, I suppose, internationals that they can have in their team to kind of spread the quality, or what would you say, I suppose, the elite players around evenly. I think for the quality, the standard of the league would improve. Vera Pauw did it in Holland when she was there, I'm pretty sure, and it worked. It worked there. I think on a surface level, if we were to say if there's one thing that could be done to improve the league or improve women's football, it would probably be to spread the quality around more equally, or whatever it might be. But that goes a lot deeper then, because you have to talk about money and how could you afford to tell a player they can't play where they live or where they're from. I suppose more funding, better sponsorship, which has improved this year, I suppose, for some teams. There are a lot of things. I think there's so many things that I can't even.
I suppose at a kind of a grassroots level, I suppose, from at the very base, even before you get to the highest level, what I suppose what's that like at the minute, I suppose, and where does it need to go, do you think? If you get me.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, I suppose, since I've seen what the grassroots are really like, since I've coached or been down that low. But I think girls football is coming on a long way at grassroots. There are more girls teams. There's more opportunities for girls to be playing, and awareness as well, because they're seeing it on TV. They're hearing people talk about it on the radio. And I think the US team as well are a good example of how you can grow the game from very, very small attention or very little attention at all to where they're at now, with how many World Cups, like 4 or 5 World Cups or something, just by putting themselves out there. And I think grassroots still has a long way to go. I think even in the men's side of the game, I think the international team are a good example of when you don't look after grassroots. This is what you get, kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, I suppose just more teams, more opportunities, better coaches, more coaches. It's good now that we have. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
And I was just going to say, I think it's good now that we have the under-19s league in between the 17s and the senior women's now, because that's the girls who are with us now. We've such a young team anyway that majority of them can play under-19s. So if they don't play with us on a Saturday, they can play 19s on a Sunday. So they're just getting, more opportunities to be on the ball and playing matches and stuff.
Yeah. And just as I was going to say, like when you are saying that if you had more players playing, like, do you feel like there's a massive drop off in women playing soccer? Like, and again, as you're growing up, like if you had a lot of friends who say just stop playing for certain reasons, like, I know like, you're having on the 19s, and then it's obviously going to help like bridge that gap for people who just aren't going to make it onto the first teams and squads. Like, but like, is there anything else you feel like could be put in there to stop nearly player drop off? Like,
probably more teams at a younger age then. So we have 17s, 19s and seniors, but we could probably do it 15s, 14s or 13s or whatever it might be at a higher level. So national league teams, but younger ages, to give girls an opportunity to step up to that level, but they're not quite ready to play 17s or whatever. Whereas now you'll have 13 or 14-year-olds that are too good for their Sunday league team, but probably too young to step into the under-17s. So I suppose it is just bridging that gap, so they don't fall away. They don't stop playing for a year because they don't have a team. At least they have somewhere to go then.
I suppose like Niall already mentioned the fact that like you have an S&C background, so like you kind of know like the ins and outs of what happens, like especially say like what the high standard should be. Like, do you notice there's a difference? Like, obviously you've seen the stuff with the NCAA with the basketball, like the difference between the men and the women, like and the S&C setup they were given. Do you notice there's that difference between, even say in Cork, like do you notice there's a difference between how you're treated from that kind of point of view as opposed to everything else? Like, is there a difference there?
I actually can't say there is, to be fair. We have the same amount of access to the gym as the men do. Obviously they get to train during the day, so they can be in the gym earlier, and ideally we'd be on the pitch and then in the gym. That would be the way we'd want to do it, with the way it is that because we don't get paid, and we're amateurs basically with a professional lifestyle. We have to train first and then, or we have to use the gym first and then train on the pitch. So I think the fact that the men are in a position to be paid where they can train early in the morning, I think it's probably at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and then have lunch and then go to the gym. That's probably the only difference between us when it comes to that side of things. We get the same amount of attention S&C wise, the same amount of, I think, like James puts a lot of effort into his research when it comes to like making our programs or doing individual work with players and stuff. But yeah, I'd say the only big difference is the time restraints that we have, the fact that we all have jobs or college or work before training. That's probably the only thing.
Is there many actually players, or is there any players, female ones, that are paid at all throughout the National League, like, or is it just like no one's paid across the board? Like,
no, there would be, but it would probably be expenses rather than wages into their bank. Yeah, like most sports, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I suppose just go through some of the questions you got off Instagram. I think, some people have answered like, are you relishing the opportunity to be captain? I suppose you've kind of already talked about that. Like, there's one kind of thing saying that, like, do you think? I know you kind of discussed about there when you're kind of talking about the model in America, like, about, do you think it should be a case of like players should be stopped from going from the smaller clubs to the bigger clubs, like, similar to the way GA, like it's kind of the transfers are a bit of a taboo subject, like, whereas in soccer it is more free flowing. But would that stop say the bigger players going to the bigger clubs? Like, would it create more competition? I know you kind of already discussed it, the American model. Like, do you feel there is a lot of that movement in the women's football? Like,
there is a small bit, I suppose. I think in an ideal world we wouldn't have, players feeling the need to move. But we don't live in an ideal world, particularly not in women's football anyways. And when players feel that it's, for their benefit, or, they think they'll grow more being in a different club, a bigger club, then you have to respect their decision to move. I think down the line, when there's more money in women's football in Ireland, it would be ideal if we could have sort of an allocation system, or, you can only have a certain number of international players in your team that will spread like, it's been proven to increase the standard or improve the standard in 2 leagues now, in Holland and in the US. It does work. It just takes a lot of work to make it work, So it is something I'd like to see, because I think even if it was just for a year or two to see how it worked, but I think it's a good way down the line for us. And I don't think it's just as simple as saying you can't move. Maybe a starting point would be 2-year contracts or 3-year contracts, whereas at the moment you sign for 1 year and that's it. And then at the end of the season, you're a free agent. So maybe that's a starting point. I don't know, but it's deep water, I think, if you go into telling players they can't move to another club.
Yeah, it'd be kind of awkward, right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but with kind of some form of a draft. Like, I don't know how would it work?
Yeah, like the NFL.
Yeah, something like that. So, like, the bottom team in the league will get the first pick of the players or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's just another.
Pitch that to the FAI.
I will. Yeah, no, but if any of them are tuned in, so you go there now. But
I suppose, how did you find your whole move to Cork? So, like, obviously it's not a thing of, you moved for a massive paycheck, because we already know, like, that financial situation isn't there. Like, so you've had to move your entire life, like, whether it be job and, like, everything down to Cork. Like, so, like, how did you find that transition?
Surprisingly easy, to be honest, because I'd wanted to come back to Cork. Because I was here in 2018 for placement, so I kind of always knew I wanted to come back down. Moving teams was difficult because I'd been with Wexford for so long. So that was a culture shock in itself, was just moving teams. But moving to the actual, like, just moving my life was actually fine. I worked for a few months leading up to the move to save enough money so that when I did come down, I was okay until I found a job. And it worked, and I found a job, and I'm okay, and I'm grand now, and I'm here a year and 2 months. So yeah, it's been grand. I love it. Like I said earlier, what a county, Niall. Like, honestly, I say to so many people, like, Cork people don't appreciate Cork enough.
We do, to be honest.
I don't know. It has everything. Like, not to talk bad on Wicklow now, but it just has everything that you need. Like, but yeah, no, I love it here.
The real capital.
It is. I can't argue. It is. Yeah.
So, what was the biggest culture change going from Wexford Youths? So I know, like, obviously you'd be, like, set in your ways of certain things. Wexford did things, and, like, what was one of the biggest changes that, like, was there a massive change that Cork did things in a completely different way, or was it just kind of getting used to the whole situation?
Yeah. The two clubs do run quite differently, to be fair. So that was one thing. Just in training setup, and just I don't know. I think the women's side of the club down here runs very similar to the men's side, and I'd seen what the men's side was like. So it was nice coming in. That was kind of familiar, but I think coming into such a young dressing room was different for me. Because being in Wexford, I would have been, at the start anyway, I would have been one of the youngest players. So I was coming into, a really experienced dressing room full of players that set a really high standard. So coming down to Cork, the players set really high standards, but I was surprised because they were all so young. So that was different for me, was recognising straight away that I was the third oldest on the team. and trying not to feel too old. But yeah, that was probably just the biggest difference, was the age. And, it's just a different, I suppose the approach to games can be different in some ways. And we train 4 nights a week. I suppose one of the nights is 5-a-side or kind of Astro. That's for the coaches as well to get their steps in. But we train 3 nights a week and a match on the weekend. So, and in Wexford it was only ever two nights a week. So it's nice having that extra day or extra 2 if I'm around for the Astro. But no, there were quite a few differences, but only slight, really. Yeah.
Obviously, most have seen like your goal you scored there.
Yes, that was all I meant to ask.
I'll try to put a clip in for when you get it up. But
yeah,
I suppose we've seen Stephanie Roach take off when she got her goal nominated for the Puskas Award. Like, do you reckon like you'll be up for nomination now?
I don't know. Did you see the goal that the Porto player scored against Chelsea there the other night? Bicycle kick.
No,
yeah, I don't know. It's a good bit of competition out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be nice now. I wouldn't mind, getting nominated for Puskas and sitting beside Ronaldo, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I will push it.
Yeah, if you make it blow up on social media.
Did you get much reaction like from your goal? Like, I know because it's all over social media. Cork having it up. Like, but did you get much like of actual like messages?
Yeah, a good bit. To be fair, I got a lot of messages about it. I don't score often, so when I do, and if they're like that, I'm not going to complain. Like, I'm going to take the compliments.
I know, it's a class goal, to be fair.
Yeah, I could have gone anywhere really, so I'm just glad it went where it went.
Went in the right place, though. So that's the main thing.
Like, the younger viewers might be watching, like, and like, I'll see to them, like, it might be a bit surreal for you, but like, you're obviously like going to be like some sort of a role model for them. Like, so would you have any pointers you'd like to say to any of them, like, who are looking up to you, like saying like, I'd want to be the next Becky Cassin and captain Cork City? Like, would you have any pointers you'd like to say to them or anything? Or?
Put in the work right from an early age if you can, is probably all I'd say. I'm not naturally gifted. I'm not a talented footballer by any means, but I think from like 13 or 14 I was too stubborn not to be good enough to play with the lads and stuff like that. So I was out on my own, up on the pitch, out running the roads, doing anything I could to get a head start on the other girls around me. So that'd probably be the main piece of advice that I could give, is if you have 20 minutes or an hour of extra time in the evenings and you love playing football, go out to the pitch and kick a ball against the wall or find somebody to do it with, and just get as many touches as you can. Do as much as you can from a young age, because it will stand to you. I think even like there's things that I do now in training that I remember having to teach myself how to do when I was 14 or 15, because I just couldn't do them when everybody else could. So like, just get out and do the extras and work hard, because it pays off. It definitely pays off.
Very good. Yeah, that's good advice for anyone.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. So so we finish up there. So thanks for coming on, Becky, and
no
thank you, and best luck for the rest of the year and best luck at the weekend. And thanks for everyone who might have tuned in. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks.
Cheers, Becky.
Come to decide that the things that I tried were in my life just to get high on. When I sit alone, come get a little known, but I need more than myself this time. Step from the road to the sea to the sky, and I do believe that we rely on. When I lay it on, come get to play it on, all my life to sacrifice. Hey, oh, listen what I say, oh, I got your hey, oh, now listen.